Hi, I'm Artsyylicious. It's been a while, but welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to show you how to color and add glow art to your drawing using IbisPaintX. Please do subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so you get a notification every time I post. Follow me on my Instagram accounts, I have 2 of them, and please do check out my Redbubble store. And now, let's get into this tutorial. I've already imported my sketch into IbisPaintX and added a layer. You can check out my how to do glow art video to see how this is done. I will link it up in the eye above. As you can see, I have turned on the stabilizer and the force fade, and I'm using the brush Dip Pen Hard. And I'm going to continue outlining this drawing. For the thicker outlines, I'm using the brush on 20 points. Since my base layer is at full opacity, I decided to adjust the transparency of the base layer as shown here and decided to reduce the opacity so that I could outline my drawing better. This allows me to see what I'm doing and get a more precise outline. I have turned off the force fade just for a little bit in order to get a better fill and more precision. Adjust the thickness of your brush as needed to get to the details. Remember to turn on force fade again when you start outlining. As you can see here, I'm using the thickness of 15 to get into the fine outlines. I keep alternating between the thicknesses of 20 and 15 to show the difference of line weights, and I keep turning my force fade off or on depending if I'm doing line work or doing some fills. The reason I like outlining digitally is because it gives the final product an extremely clean look. I changed my brush thickness to 12 and 7.5 to get into those final details. This completes the main outline. Now to move on to coloring the hair, I have turned off force fade for this and I'm working on a new layer as you can see here. It comes back to you. Whoa, I'm still falling. Whoa, but it tastes bittersweet. I'm outlining the red parts of Rengoku's hair, which will be a pop of color, along with something else which you will see later. Now that all the red parts of his hair are completely outlined, I'm going to add in another layer and click on to the brush icon that you can see and choose the bucket. I turned on gap recognition, which was not such a good idea, And upon turning it off, I realized that the brush is picking up the texture from my base layer. So I switched off my base layer and tried again, and there we go. Continue filling in all the red parts and make sure that the ends are closed, or else it will bleed all over the page. Like that. I'm also combining the layers by clicking the arrow that's above the bin. Here you can see I'm closing the gaps so that the same error doesn't repeat again. For convenience, I'm going to rename the layers according to what I have done on them. So I'm naming this one Red Hair. This way, I do not get confused when I have to interchange between layers and I know what's where. As you saw earlier, I created a layer by the name of Blood because that's what we're going to do. We're going to start outlining all the bloody regions of his face. That sounds extremely morbid, but it's fun to do. I'm using a dark red, almost a maroon color to do this while keeping my force fade off but my stabilizer on. This helps me have stable, clean lines.
We're bound to hit the ground. Gotta keep this feeling, keep on breathing, even if we're slipping away. So I close.
Once again, make sure the lines form close boundaries so that it is easier to use the bucket tool to fill in the spaces. Always add in a new layer whenever you are going to do something new. For example, I'm going to add in a layer for the darkest shade of his hair right now and name it accordingly. I'm now going to repeat the same process that I explained before for the hair, but this time in shades of grey, as I want this drawing to be monochromatic with a pop of color. Keep repeating this process for different shades of the hair, the skin, the clothes, etc. For the sake of brevity and also to save space on my phone and laptop, I did not record all of it, but I hope some of this gives you an idea as to how to achieve coloring on IbisPaintX. And now we're going to go straight into the fun part, which is glow art. But before that, always check your layers and make sure all of it is in place. These are all my layers that I did off-screen recording, and I've adjusted the transparency on each one of them to about 80% so that you can see the texture of the base paper coming through. I'm going to select the base layer, go into FX as shown here, and reduce the brightness to about 50%. Also, make sure that your base layer is at full opacity. If it's not, turn it all the way back on to 100%. As you can see, the skin shading is not showing up too well, but we can fix this. So I'm going to go to the skin shade layer. Then go into the FX menu and select the option of change color, and from here I can change the color of that layer. This is why working in layers is so important. If I had not worked in layers, I would not have been able to do this, and it would have wasted a lot of my time.
Walking the same ways 100 times with the same
I'm going to readjust the color even for the hair layer and repeat the same process that I just explained before once again.
But did you ever try to puff on the left side?
Finally, the part you all have been waiting for, the glow art. I'm going to add in a new layer right below the outline as seen here, and what I'm going to do is switch the blending mode to add. I'm going to choose a light reddish orangish color and choose the brush airbrush and begin shading in the highlights of my sketch.
Roll your mind, seeing all the watering, fill your eyes, doing things they know, talking about the same.
Don't worry too much about this part being messy, as we can always go in and clean up the edges later. What I'm using is a feathering motion, starting with the brightest concentration of the color towards the edges of the sketch and slowly fading it out into the rest of the sketch.
It's gonna be hard. You run.
For the brightest parts of the highlight, use an almost white shade just at the edges to bump up the concentration. Once again, you can use your original color to feather it out and go over areas, trying to make it a seamless blend with the rest of your sketch.
You run.
Every now and then, I'm going to go in with the eraser tool and clean up the edges so as to give it a nice look. This is why the glow layer is below the final outline layer, as this helps make the drawing look very clean. Glow art is a back and forth process that requires adding in highlights, diffusing out the colors, and going in with the eraser every now and then to make sure that your lines are clean. It's all about patience and it's all about the blend. My first ever tutorial goes over this in detail, and you can always go back and have a look at that if you think this is too fast or confusing. Before we start the glow art for the eyes, I'm gonna go back to the eye layer, and using the airbrush, I'm gonna add some highlights and shades to the eyeball so that I know where to place the glow elements. Once the shading is done, I'm going to go back into the layer that has the glow in it, which is the layer with the add mode on, and I'm going to start highlighting and bringing forward the lightest, most luminescent part of the eyes. To make it look as though the eye is glowing, I'm going to add in another layer and choose the orange color and just going to go around the eye region in a circle. Once again, the layer has been set to add. I'm going to add some highlights right around the eye, as though the eye is a source of light which illuminates certain parts of the face. I'm going in with a light yellow shade around the eye in certain regions of the face, hair, etc. to make them appear extra bright and give them an additional pop. Make sure that you clean up the lines and the glow as you go. I wanted to make this piece stand out even more, so I decided to add a layer just above the base layer and make that completely black in color. Once this black color is painted on this layer, I'm gonna reduce the opacity of the layer and erase the parts of this layer that coincide with my sketch, drawing and my previous work which I have done before. Once that's all done and cleaned up, I'm gonna go back into my glowy layer and using the brush Neon, I'm going to dot on some ambers and sparks.
So turn out the lights and let's make a deal to just enjoy it. I'm not thinking about
using the same brush and color, I'm going to fill in the white parts of the eye. This makes the eye pop even more and look very glowy. I'm going to add in some more glowy dots as well as my signature, and that's it. I know it's been a longer tutorial than the ones I've uploaded before, but I really hope you do find this useful. Comment any questions you have down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all another time. Bye.